Hello and welcome to another Takeda episode of the Eternal Law. On the last Takeda episode, Shingen was attacked by a Shoni army, and I showed you the battle fought in the in-game battle screen. Shingen was of course victorious and survived, but the Shoni main force quickly showed up and captured Setsu Castle, leaving him trapped. I sent some forces to try and distract the enemy, hoping that he'll eventually be able to escape. Then Takeda Yoshinobu ambushed an Ikko army, however that army was containing mostly spearmen and his army had its strength in its cavalry, so he was in fact completely destroyed during the ambush. However, by careful use of skirmishing, the few survivors of his army were able to gradually wear down the Ikko and eradicate them. Then, a Buddhist rebellion was started in Owari by shogunate monks. The Buddhists attacked the castle, and we'd just seen reinforcements led by Yamadera destroy their heavy cavalry. And now, let's continue. Those Takeda claim that they are Buddhist. They say that Takeda Shingen visits a shrine every day while his retainers drink and cavort with geisha. But it was the Takeda who let the Ikko spread their false gods and oppress our people. It was the Takeda who now wish to use the work the Ikko started to deify themselves. And it is the Takeda who we brave and faithful men must now cast from our home, never allowing them to return. All units, advance! So we'd just seen the reinforcements led onto the field by General Yamadera destroying the warrior monk cavalry, but at the same time the enemy's infantry are beginning their assault on the castle from a number of directions. Here we can see groups of enemy Yari Ashigaru are rushing in and engaging with our own Yari Ashigaru. However, we have the advantage that there are archers on the wall behind us firing in. So even though it looks like they have the local numerical advantage, I believe we're going to have a severe morale advantage from that supporting fire, and they also have katana samurai in the area who can get involved if needs be. Here we can see more enemy Yari Ashigaru assaulting a section of the castle here, defended by samurai, so we're going to have a much easier time holding them back. And I've also dismounted some of my local cavalry forces to go and get involved in that fight, just to further pin them down. Here on the north side, the enemy is probably at their strongest. Again, they have massed Yari Ashigaru leading the assault, and we have Yari Ashigaru in defense and archers on the wall firing at them. However, they just have too many regiments for us to deal with, so they have a little bit of tactical flexibility in this area, so we're going to have to be careful about what they do with all their extra men. Now as the battle went on, Yamadera's reinforcements began to come and influence the battle near the castle. Here Yamadera himself has charged in to attack some enemy archers outside the north side of the castle, who were gradually firing at my archers, I believe, whittling down their ranks, making me lose my morale advantage on the north side. So it was good of Yamadera to go and deal with that. However, the enemy have sent some reserve cavalry to scatter my bow cavalry who were coming to support him, so now he's a little bit isolated. Speaking of bows, on the south side, the enemy's bow warrior monks were really bombarding my men. But you can see I've cleared out all of the enemy Yari Ashigaru in this area on the south side, my katana samurai doing a great job. But I'm taking heavy losses to those bow warrior monks, so I need to get outside the castle and do something about it. Here on the north side, you can see I've sent all of my reserve forces to try and plug up the fact that the enemy was breaking through. I've also sent bow cavalry in to engage with the enemy at point blank range down there. Outside, Yamadera's reinforcements are still caught up with the enemy's cavalry reserves. It seems they have a few regiments of reserves who came in one by one to continue fighting with us. Here, it's light cavalry and they're fighting with Takeda's fire cavalry, a fight we should easily win, especially when this unit of bow cavalry is backing us up. And so, the enemy's infantry were all but destroyed, and this allowed all of my men on the south side to charge out and engage with the enemy general. I had my katana samurai leading the fight, with a bunch of Ashigaru really just acting as filler, and gradually we defeated his guards, trying to get to the man himself, because the breaking of him will destroy the entire rebellion here and now. I also moved all my archers down to the outer tier to fire at the enemy's bow warrior monks outside the castle. So finally we're getting some revenge for all the casualties they'd caused us throughout the battle, cutting them down. They were unsure of what to do, trying to target different units one by one, therefore not actually firing very many shots. Back in Yamadera's area of the battle, things have been completely won. You can see Yamadera himself is having a great time chasing down some of the units who routed from the north side of the castle, making sure they definitely won't come back. So the north side is completely secured at this point. All we need to do is finish off the general and staff on the south side. You can see the enemy's warrior monks were attacked by my cavalry, so those guys are going to go down pretty damn fast, leading to an overall victory for the Takeda. So this defeat means that the rebellion is over. Owari is going to be receiving a public order bonus, and we've shown the Shogun that he can't simply bring uprisings to defeat us. He needs to defeat us with loyal, real troops. Now let's head back to the strategy map and see the actual battle results. It looked like we lost just a couple of hundred men, about 600 there, the enemy losing over 2,000. Very favourable results. We did lose a regiment of mounted Yariashigaru, but of course they are very replaceable. That's a very low level unit to lose. So, Owari is now safe from the threat of rebellion, and we're moving into the next turn. Now first what I'm going to do is move this Takeda fleet to go and engage with some Shogun forces who are threatening some of my coasts here on the west side of the Kinai area. However, a Shoni fleet in the area stops my advance, and I was wondering whether I should bother engaging that Shoni fleet, and decided to decide later. For now, you can see I'm focusing on finishing off that rebellion, because it turns out there were a few survivors from that battle, so I sent the garrison at Owari to go and take them out. An easy victory, and that means the rebellion is now formally over, so I'll be receiving the public order bonus for doing so. You can see the province is gradually losing its Ikko roots, which is good news, returning to Buddhism and reducing the threat of rebellion in the future. Now I noticed that the Ikko didn't have much of a garrison in Umi, so I thought I can send this large reinforcement group which I had guarding the roads to go and lay siege to the castle. It was probably strong enough to take the castle in an assault, however it would have taken major damage, and I wanted to keep as many men alive as possible to deal with those big Ikko stacks down there. So, I'm now setting a trap for those Ikko stacks, because by laying siege to Umi, I'm surely going to draw them up from the former Kitabatake lands to go and defend their province. But of course they have to go there via a single road, and I can simply guard that road. So you can see I've already sent Takeda Nobukado to lay an ambush beside the road. I've moved more reinforcements up to guard the road that goes up towards Wakasa, so we've got two angles covered there. I'm also moving these troops from Mino to get into a position to reinforce Nobukado in the event of an ambush, but of course I do need more men than what I have here to actually hold out, because the Ikko have about 3 stacks, so really I want to have at least 2 stacks of my own troops ready to try and stop them. And so to that end you can see I've moved Yamadera to go and back up Nobukado as well. My father keeps asking me to guard the roads to Owari, even though I'm in a perfect position to break through and save him. What's so special about this place? He's not even here, and he seems to know more about the situation here than I do. And then everyone does call him a genius. Whatever. Once the Ikko work out what we're doing, they'll attack, and we'll have a nice glorious battle on our hands. Been a while since I got my blade dirty. So there are a few more troop movements we need to do before the end of the turn. Firstly, I need to move all the forces that are guarding the castle at Echizen to come down and guard the crossroads between Wakasa and Umi, since that's a much more useful place to be. It's going to stop any Ikko reinforcements going and trying to attack Umi or Mino. Now the other thing I need to do is bring in one of my reinforcement armies to the battlefront. So you can see I have it in a ship here. It's been coming from the eastern Takeda domain to get involved in this fight, and now is actually the perfect time to deploy it, because I just happen to really need an army in this sector. Because the Ikko have 3 stacks there and I only have 2 to defend against them, to stop them going into Owari. By bringing this extra stack of reinforcements in by ship, I suddenly changed the game. I'm moving it to a position where it can be reinforced by my 2 other stacks. So now when the Ikko attack, they'll be forced to come into this army's zone of control, and they'll be ambushed by Nobukado on the way, making things even easier. So basically, our defences at that crossroads there have been improved. You can see here at Sagami is where I'm actually recruiting the Takeda armies because of the improved blacksmiths in the area. So I'm going to get to recruiting the next one now that that one's finished deploying. Now the next thing I wanted to do was cement my alliance with the Date, because the Takeda's stability at the moment is very dependent on the Date not attacking them from the eastern front.
Meetings with friends,
so I'm going into the diplomacy screen, and I'm going to be arranging a marriage between one of Takeda's daughters and some unknown fellow in the Date clan. This marriage between our clans will force us to have closer bonds and hopefully dramatically reduce the chance of them betraying me in the near future. You can see I was seeing whether they were willing to pay to get married to one of the Takeda dames, thinking that they were that desirable, but in the end I give it to them as just a gift.
Our thanks.
They seem somewhat grateful for it. He didn't seem that overwhelmed when I basically giving him a person as a gift, but you can see on the actual relationship screen here, they are now extremely friendly towards the Takeda, so I think the chance of them betraying us is gone. So now we're going through the next end turn sequence, and as I had hoped, the Ikko send some of their forces up towards Umi and are ambushed by the huge army I have positioned at the crossroads. We have a big advantage here, so I'm just going to auto-resolve this assault led by Nobukado. I believe the backup army in the forest didn't even get involved there, but still we had a giant advantage and it was an easy victory. I believe we killed 3 times the number of men we lost, very nice. Then the Ikko decide to send up more of their men into the area, not to actually come into the attack, but to just kind of stand off against my men. So perhaps they'll do something in the next turn with those guys. Then the Ikko fleet comes and attacks the Takeda fleet I was sneaking around to the Iwaji Island area. I decided I'd rather not get involved in that fight because there were Shoni ships who would be able to reinforce, so I'm retreating from it for now. Little Ikko remnant is going around Yamato province there destroying infrastructure, but they won't be doing very much damage, so it's not really a problem. I can repair it with ease. And now the Shoni are coming at Kawachi with their Metsugeis. I wasn't sure what they were trying to do, but you can see what they're actually doing here is they're bribing its massive garrison to betray us, and they succeeded. This tells me that the Shoni have a lot of money, because that's a very expensive thing to do, and it shows that my men were not as loyal as I hoped they were. So now I have to deal with a minor Shoni uprising in Kawachi province, which is annoying because that was a very important border province against Shoni attack. And speaking of revolts, it looks like Mino is revolting as well. A Buddhist uprising has begun, no doubt the work of that Ashikaga shogunate monk who is hanging around. You can see here this is the message regarding the bribery. At the start of every turn I get these countless messages with bad news telling me that all my agents are gone, my ports blockaded, sea trade routes raided and occasionally infrastructure destroyed. But here we have a bit of good news. It seems there are some good omens coming the Takeda's way, and we have the choice of how to spin it. Do we spin it to improve our fate in battle, or do we spin it to improve our catch at sea? I decided to go for the fate in battle option. I believe it adds 2 morale to all of your units for the next year, which is going to be handy because we're surely going to have some important battles in the next year. So even though the situation at Kawachi has got dramatically worse, we can have a nice victory for ourselves by bringing Shingen back into the fold. He found a way to escape from enemy territory, and now he is going to man the castle at Kawachi against future attacks from the Shoni. Now back in Mino, you can see I'm moving forces towards the castle in order to guard against the inevitable Buddhist assault. Those rebels pretty much just want to take the castle, so I don't need to attack them. I have the leisure of waiting for them to attack me. This will mean I will have extra garrison forces to play with, so it's in my interest to do that. So the next thing to think about is what to do with this whole huge standoff between all of my armies, all of those Ikko armies, and the fact that I'm sieging Umi and could potentially take it with ease if I sent one of my armies over there to help out in the siege. So first I had to micromanage those 3 armies there to get them close to each other to make sure they were all reinforcing properly. Then when I decided that that area was safe enough, I moved this army that was guarding the approach to Mino down into Umi, and they're going to back up the army already besieging the castle, allowing me to do an auto-resolve with a absolutely massive force advantage, you can see. So I'm not expecting to take any losses at all in this fight. We took just 100 or so, defeating 1,000 enemies and capturing the castle. Umi is ours, and even better news, the officer leading the assault has been promoted to general as a result of his exemplary performance, and now we have a new general in our ranks, and he's extremely loyal, as you can see here. So this is good news for the Takeda forces in these dark times, and we now have Umi under our control, which is an extremely economically and strategically important province. So this is excellent news. Furthermore, the army that just took the castle still has plenty of movement points, so can move on. So I'm going to move them straight past the capital and down to where Shingen's army is based, thus giving him a much better chance of surviving should those Shoni forces you can see there to the northwest come and attack. Plus of course there are probably more Shoni forces hidden in the darkness. Now I wanted to see if he could go and attack those Shoni rebels who escaped from the Takeda provinces, but it seems he didn't have enough movement points to get there, so he's going to sit awkwardly in front of them. The next troop movement to deal with is Nobushige's force, who now can actually attack Wakasa completely unhindered we're sort of reaping the rewards of the countless victories we've won over the Ikko forces in the Wakasa Umi area, because they just have no forces left locally to actually stop me from coming in and taking these castles. So Nobushige can just rush in. It's an easy auto-resolve, especially with his reinforcements coming up there to further enhance the balance bar. So Wakasa is captured. We've just captured 2 provinces in as many minutes. Things are going very well for the Takeda. Now I'm going to move his reinforcements into an ambushing position should any Ikko armies come from the west and attack from the Tango Tamba region, but I'm not really expecting them to, because I don't think they have anything there. And we can also see that our vassal Hatakeyama are about to attack the Ikko holdings in this area, so things are going very well on that front. If you are reading these words, then I have returned safely from enemy lands. The Shoni are mighty yet blind, and our camp remained hidden from them the entire time. Already I have heard news of all of your great achievements, making the happiness of return further heightened. I sense that the fate of our clan can now be safely decided in a single battle with the remaining Ikko army. Once won, I shall ask you all to aid me and my men returning to the Shoni land and redeeming the honour of our family by slaying them all. So now we can see the Ikko are having trouble getting their minds around the fact that we have such a large army in that area near Owari. They just kind of ran around there, not actually attacking us for fear of losing perhaps, nor going around us to attack Owari, so it seems they were indecisive. Now out to sea, an Ikko fleet attacks the Takeda fleet. Because of some nearby Shogun reinforcements, I ran away, but then they simply attacked me again, and I decided that since the balance of forces is about equal, I would try and take them on. I did notice though that they have a lot of firebomb Koboyas in their ranks, which I've never really fought against, so I was curious to see how they would do in battle. So one morning, the battle begins. The Takeda fleet is sailing out against the Ikko fleet, finally making a stand after retreating for many turns from all engagements. The Takeda fleet is just a medium bune, a couple of Sengoku bune, and a single bow Koboya, I believe. The Ikko Iki fleet has a few Sengoku bune of its own, a couple of medium bune, and a whole load of firebomb Koboya and 1 bow Koboya. So those firebomb Koboyas are going to be their ace in the hole. I've never seen them in action, so we'll see what they can do. In principle, they're a weak unit with a small crew, very vulnerable to being boarded, but of course they're also very strong at close range, so it's difficult to decide what to do about them. But the decision won't really be made by me. So you can see in this opening phase of the battle, I'm skirmishing with that enemy Sengoku bune on the right flank, trying to make sure that my bow Koboya doesn't get too close to it in case it gets boarded. Here in the middle, the enemy have rushed forward to Sengoku bune, and I was happy to just stop and wait for it to come towards me, because that means I can bombard it with the archers of my medium bune from all sides, and they're going to be doing very well against all of these katana samurai positioned on deck, with no cover against the arrows I can keep offering them. So that's good for me. We're whittling down their numbers, and their first Sengoku bune is in trouble. I'm also performing an outflanking maneuver on the left side, while here in the middle, the enemy's Koboyas are beginning to get close enough to fight. You can see I'm basically rushing my medium bune towards them, perhaps foolhardy, thinking that I might be able to board with these guys. I've already taken out a number of their crew by hitting them with arrows as I came in. You can see here my bow Koboya is attempting to deal with 3 enemy firebomb Koboyas, and now we can see the price it's going to pay for attempting such a fight. The enemy throw their bombs, and the ones that hit the ship explode, killing the crew and setting the boat alight. The remaining crew members surrender, and just as they surrender, the same thing starts to happen to this huge medium bune, an easy target for the grenadiers on the enemy ships. They can just throw grenades onto the top of the deck, blasting the crew apart, the crew being thrown off the ship or being killed in the explosions, the ship itself taking heavy damage, and with every explosion there's a risk of it catching alight. But you can see these 2 medium bunes who I deployed to stop the enemy's firebomb Koboyas were completely eradicated in those bomb blasts. They've lost almost all of their crew, so even though I am now going to be boarding them, I don't really have enough crew to actually defeat the enemy. On the left flank, things are going better. I've got some fairly healthy units. I've already eradicated one of the enemy's Sengoku bune, and here you can see my 2 Sengoku bunes are attempting to chase down some enemy medium bunes. For some reason they had to go against the winds near the beginning, so it slowed them down quite a lot. Back out on my right, one of my medium bunes has surrendered in the face of all the grenades. The other one has successfully captured one of the enemy's firebomb Koboyas and are now returning to their ship with their crew severely depleted as a result of the fighting and the bomb blasts. but the enemy seem to be abandoning this area and moving all of their firebomb cowboys towards the center and the left, where I was winning. So things probably aren't going to go very well, and you can see here the action of these firebombs is destroying the crew. I'm trying to board, but all the while the boarding action is happening, they're throwing their grenades in. Half the crew are killed even before the boarding begins. Finally my men are jumping in, and once we begin to engage the enemy men in melee, things are fine and the ships are easy to defeat. But you can see it's very difficult to board with these ships without taking huge losses. Here's another example. I just defeated an enemy firebomb cowboy, but then one grenade went off at the back of my ship caught fire and my crew surrendered. You can see the captain accidentally jumped on the enemy ship, tries to escape and jumps into another enemy ship, and then finally jumps into the sea. It would have been better staying on the enemy ship, to be honest, but instead he decided to take his chances with the sea, and I'm pretty sure he's just going to drown sitting there. So you can see many Takeda ships abandoned and on fire around the place. More crewmen there abandoning their ship even though they're just been victorious. So it seems that the fire bombs have the hidden strength that when they set your ship on fire, the crew simply abandon it regardless of how well things are doing. And so when this was factored in, we lost wholeheartedly in this battle. Look here, you can see there's a medium bune with about 5 guys still left alive on it, attempting to board a firebomb cowboy. Very brave. They take a volley of grenades. I believe 2 of them are alive. One of them jumps in on his own. What is he going to do against all these enemy crewmen? Well, he is immediately killed. Well, he did try. So the enemy firebomb cowboy is doing quite well, but actually it looks like we do still have one guy on the deck there. He was indecisive, but now he decides that he is going to be the one to defeat all the enemy forces on this firebomb cowboy, take revenge for his fallen comrades. He's got one, he's already killed one of them. You can see arrows are coming in from somewhere and taking out more enemies. He's taken out the captain of the enemy firebomb cowboy. That's definitely going to demoralize the enemy. He pushes away another opponent. The enemy is still overwhelming him, and it looks like someone just chopped his head off. So that's pretty much representative of this battle. It was a sure defeat for the Takeda forces. It came up as a costly enemy victory because I actually killed very large numbers of the crewmen on the enemy ships. Most of the enemy ships suffered complete loss of crew, so even though the enemy are going to have all of their ships left after this battle, and they're going to capture all the ones that were surrendered on my side, they're going to have 0 crewmen, so it's going to cost them a huge amount to get them back to strength. So we both lost the same amount in terms of money. So here's the battle results screen. Yes, we've lost all of our ships. The enemy captured most of them. However, you can see they've captured them pretty much without crews, so they'll have to spread their own crew across these ships, which means individually they're all going to be almost useless in battle, so they'll have no choice but to withdraw and repair those fleets. Now in the same end turn sequence, it looks like the Buddhist rebels in Mino mean business. They attack the castle, and this time the army is a little bit stronger than the last Buddhist army we saw. It's replaced all of its light infantry with these Naginata warrior monks who are going to be difficult to deal with, although they don't have the same heavy cavalry that the last uprising had. I decided to actually auto-resolve this assault pretty much because we've just seen a very similar battle taking place right next door to the castle at Mino, so I thought I didn't really want to show you this battle nor be bothered fighting it myself. And the battle result is only a close victory, so it would have been better if I'd done it myself, but oh well. Yes boy, they're going to war indeed. We breed the horses here good and strong and send them up to the castle yonder. Men come to that castle from all over the land to compete for a chance to ride with the fire cavalry. Then a few months might pass where they live in their saddle, getting as used to being on an horse as they are to being on mud. Finally they all ride out together, armours shining, spears held high, to go to Sagami where the boats take them to war. I can only hope my horses serve them well. Now something of note that happened during that end turn sequence was my allies the Hatakeyama capturing Inaba from the Ikko forces. This is the province on the other side of the Tango-Tamba region, so now they formed an interesting stopgap between the Ikko and the Shoni to the west, which means if I can press up against them, they, who are not at war with the Shoni, will stop the Shoni diplomatically from attacking my troops in that area. Very interesting, but in order to do that, you need to have enough forces. But luckily, it seemed that Takeda Nobushige was on the job. His full army, who have recently just captured Wakasa, are now free to move out of the province and move up towards Tango. You can see there are a few Shogun forces standing around here. Not sure what they were hoping to achieve, so I move forward and get rid of this unit of archers who for some reason decide to stand their ground against the Takeda advance. So they pay the price for that very poor decision, and now the army can move on and attack the castle at Tango. We have quite a large advantage already, so I could just auto-resolve, but I'm continuing the siege purely so I can bring up even more troops, because this little reinforcement army has been travelling with Nobushige for a while, so they're going to keep helping out in the battle. So now that we have an even more powerful position, I'm just going to attack the castle. Well, I would do if I could actually select the auto-resolve assault button correctly. There we go. So now we're attacking the castle. We have a massive advantage, so I expect to win, taking pretty much no losses, as you tend to do when your advantage is so large. It's a decisive victory, just over 100 casualties with just over 1,000 kills, an extremely good result, and Tango is ours. That's another Ikko province down. We've also increased the extent to which we're surrounding the capital with our own provinces, further moving the Takeda towards the point where they can just take the shogunate for themselves. Now what I wanted to know is whether I could move out of Tango immediately and attack Tajima just to the west there, thus linking up my territory with the Hatakeyama as I desired. The question was, were any Ikko forces going to come up from Tamba? I thought it unlikely, so I decided to go for it and attack the castle with Nobushige's army again. They still have a huge advantage over the tiny garrison army, which can do nothing to stop the advance of Nobushige's larger and now very veteran forces, who were able to capture the castle with fewer than 100 losses, another easy victory, and another province for the Takeda. So we've linked up with our vassal forces there in Inaba, so we've pulled a very nice strategic move actually, because now, as I say, the area is safe from attacks by the Shoni, and we've wiped the Ikko away. Now you can see that Shoni forces are threatening Kawachi. They sent an army down into the province. I wasn't really sure what they were intending to do with it, because it wasn't powerful enough to take it. I moved my new general up to attempt to do battle with them, but I was forced to retreat when for some reason Shingen's forces in the castle were refusing to reinforce him, and since Shingen's nearby, I might as well exploit my superior local advantage. So instead, I had to get Shingen out of the castle and make him lead the attack. And of course the enemy wisely retreat this time, unlike those other Shoni archers. So now I simply delayed the decision about what to do with the survivors. So now we're looking back at the strange situation with the Ikko main force. I'm moving even more men from Umi province to join my massive blockade on these crossroads, which the enemy have actually almost circumvented, which means I pretty much have to attack them in this turn, otherwise they'll be free to go by me and attack Owari. So I simply had to work out a way to attack the enemy with as many of my own reinforcements being available for battle as possible. So I did a lot of jostling around of my troops, and then I decided I might try and steal one of the enemy advantages by sabotaging the smaller army off to the south. I successfully do so with my ninja, so now this small group of Ikko troops to the south can't take part in any reinforcing actions, which means I'm free to have our brave general Takeda Nobukado lead the attack against the Ikko's last remaining grand army. So we have 4 Takeda armies attacking 2 Ikko ones. You'd think the balance of power would be very much in our favour, but it's not quite, because the Ikko armies are elite and very powerful. However, if we can win in this battle, the Ikko threat will be all but gone. What actually happens, we'll have to wait to see in the next Takeda episode. That's all for this episode, but to see the Oda bracing against an unending assault, tune in next time on The Eternal Law.